burns in the air fryer. So I might like come back to finish. I don't know. I'm gonna see how I feel because like when hunger strikes, I honor my hunger because I really didn't eat that much today. I really didn't. I'm gonna go check on the air fryer. But I just wanted to talk about the kind of hair stream I'm gonna do when I do get around to doing it. So let's go check on it. I'm back. Is the lighting better when I leave the hallway light on? I don't know. I feel like it kind of is. I'm gonna do a test. I feel like the lighting's the same. But this is the way you take out braids. You do it very gently, very demure, very cutesy. My sister loves that little TikTok thing. I guess like some people use it to be ironic. But I do believe you can use demure to your benefit. And you don't even have to be like demure. Well, I have a story about a guy that I met on Monday. Funny story, really. You know, I'm sure he's somebody's cup of tea, but he just wasn't mine, okay? So, he wasn't very cutesy, he wasn't very demure, and he wasn't very mindful. So first off, I don't really date. I just don't. I've told everybody my stories, like all my little stories about why I'm just not into this dating life. And I don't care if I'm single because to me, being single is better than just putting up with people's weird comments or just expectations. And I know some people really want to be in relationships, but I don't want it that hard and I don't want it that bad. You know, honestly, not if it's with somebody that's weird. And I'm sure he's a great guy for somebody else, but not for me. So, Monday, I was helping my sister. I did some laundry for her. I took the laundry to her, okay? I took her the laundry, and I saw this guy, like, he was near where I live, and he stopped, and he asked me for my phone number, and he seemed nice, and I know that's really not good. And by the way, I've learned my lesson. I will never... After this is the second time that I've had a weird experience giving somebody I don't know my phone number. And this has solidified why I won't do that again, okay? I just have to tell this story because it's just interesting and I'm sure there's some people that maybe they would love this guy. I don't know. I just really didn't like the way he acted. Well, at first he seemed nice. At first he seemed cool, but then it got weird quick and I just wasn't sure like what was going on. So he asked like when would be a good time to call me. And I thought, okay, that's cool. He wants to call, so I said later. I'm at maybe like 8 or 9, which is fine because I don't talk to people a lot on the phone, and especially like the first time you talk to somebody, you're just trying to get to know them, okay? So he called me, and he seemed nice at first. Like, I found out like we're around the same age, which was kind of cool. He thought I was younger than him, but we're around the same age. I thought that was cool. And then, like I told him I was single, and then he just asked like, oh, have you been in a relationship recently? And, okay, please like my life. So I said, no, not really. I've dated people, but I guess apparently he'd been married for 14 years and divorced or separated or whatever for 5, and then he was in a relationship up until recently, and he told me like he doesn't like the dating apps, and I said, yeah, I totally agree, and he seemed like totally cool at first, and then he complimented me, so I looked really nice in a dress. Then it got weird, okay, because he asked me a little bit about myself, and I think maybe he got the impression early on that I just seemed like too nice of a person or something. Like, he's like, oh, I like how you did this and that, but what I don't like is that you don't seem real outgoing. And I said, no, I'm not. Then he said something so weird. He told me that I seemed like a nun, and I should have told him, you know what, nuns have fun. I'm not a nun, but I'm not put on this earth to impress guys that want outgoing women, because that's not who I am, and I don't want to be that way. That's not me. I'm not gonna pretend to be somebody to make somebody happy. And I told him, I said, I don't know who you usually talk to, but like I'm happy with myself. Like if you don't want to meet, that's okay. Like, and we're having this weird conversation on the phone. Like it was getting weird, fast, weird. Like to the point I was like, you know what? And he had kind of said he wanted to see a picture of me, but then it got weirder. And then he's like, well, do you work out? I said I walk a lot. And I said, I think I look good. Some people think I look good. And then he's like, yeah, but I couldn't tell because you were wearing dress and not jeans, and it doesn't really follow your body shape. Then I was like, I don't like him anymore at all. Like, I really don't like him after he said that. And then he said something like, is it okay to talk about this? I said, I guess. But to be honest with you, I was thinking it was kind of weird. Plus, it was like 9:30. We've been on the phone for 31 minutes. And this is the first time I ever talked to this guy. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna go to sleep. Have a good night. And I hung up and I said good night. I said good night. It was 9:30 at night. We had been on the phone for 31 minutes. And then he texted me like, okay, an hour later, and he goes, what happened? You seemed like you were offended by something I said. I said, no, I haven't ever talked to you before, and we've been on the phone for like 31 minutes, and that's a long time. And then he was like wanting to meet the next day, and I said, I guess, like, do you want to meet at a restaurant or something? He wanted to meet at the park, and he set up a time like 6 o'clock. I'm like, okay, I didn't really want to meet. And then he was sending me more messages saying that he wanted me to join WhatsApp because he has like an Android and I have an iPhone, and he wants to do some video chat. I said, I don't really see the point of like WhatsApp. And I talked to my sister about this later, and she's like, that's weird. Like, why does he want to be on WhatsApp? We didn't really know why. But long story short, he also told me that he is retired in his 40s. You're retired in your early 40s. Okay, friend. Yeah. But he might be getting a job soon. But he's retired. I said, oh, that's interesting if you can afford. But it also came out he's divorced. He has kids with his ex-wife. And then my mind started thinking, like, is she, like, paying your alimony or something? Like, whatever, you do you. But it just seemed kind of weird. And he was just saying a lot of things I couldn't relate to. And by the end of just texting with him, I felt like we had absolutely nothing in common, and I didn't really want to meet him. Because I'm like, there's nothing in common here. Plus, one of those pictures he sent me of him looked like a picture from a ring light that somebody took of him. And that kind of creeped me out. I'm like, why are you sending me this picture? And it was kind of weird, too. Like, I'm sure he's a great guy for somebody else, but I just wasn't feeling it. Like, I felt like he was really, like, just like wanting to appraise somebody. And if you want to do that, that's fine. There are people that are into that, but I'll tell you this. I got the vibe he didn't want to impress me. So if you don't want to impress me, I don't want to meet you. And I would have maybe met him if he could keep the time that he set up to meet me Tuesday. But then he said at 6, oh, I'm running late. Okay, because he told me he had his children every other weekend. Then he said, I'm running late because I have to take my kids back to their mom's house and da-da-da-da. And plus, you know, I don't want to meet somebody if it's getting later. I just don't, for safety reasons, because I put my safety first. And he goes, okay. Like, he didn't want to meet at a restaurant because he said that might be awkward. We need to talk first. And I felt like it was just so he could appraise me or something, so I wasn't really keen on meeting him after that. Like, you've seen me. If you don't like me enough, I don't need to meet you. I'm like that, you know? That's how I roll in life. Like, if you don't like me, that's okay, because we don't have to meet. Like, I don't feel any large need to meet somebody like that wants to meet in a way before they go on a meeting. And it doesn't even have to be an official date. We could have just met at Starbucks. It was getting weirder. Then he told me, oh, well, we could, like, meet outside, like, where you live, where I saw you walking, and just walk around for a few minutes. And he was suggesting, like, almost 8 o'clock at night. And I don't know you. I don't know you. I did not know him. And that made me think, first off, he seems busy with his kids, which is great. But, yeah, like, you thought it was okay to rearrange the time when you said you, like, I wasn't even keen on meeting him. But he rearranged the time. Like, he said he was going to meet me around 6 o'clock. And he changed it on me. And that's not okay with me. Because if on the first meeting, you're okay with changing the time, then I don't want to meet because you have no respect for me and you're not wanting to impress me. Plus, I thought, first off, another thing, if you're that busy with your kids that you need to arrange stuff, maybe you shouldn't be on a dating app. Maybe you should be taking care of your kids. Like, if like it's that intense and you think it's okay to like make a plan with somebody and then to rearrange the plan, which by the way, it wasn't even a plan I was keen on. I wanted to just meet at Starbucks or something, or like a coffee shop or something like that, low key. It did not have to be like this. Like, it was getting weird. So I didn't feel comfortable. Like, purely, I didn't feel comfortable. So I just told him, okay, it sounds like you're busy and I'm just going to go home. And I wasn't going to explain myself because at this point I thought, you know what? I'm sure he'll be a great person for some woman that wants to meet him, but I didn't feel any like kind of. And then he sent me this text, but thank goodness he stopped because it was weird. Like, most people are just really nice. Like, if you decide you don't want to meet, they're like, oh, okay, like, take care. Like, they're not weird like this. Like, he's like, oh, I've been waiting to like meet you all day. I just didn't want to keep you waiting. So what's the problem? And it was just very like sarcastic. Like, I know you can't detect tone from a text, but it felt sarcastic. It felt like he was doing me a favor, even though he didn't keep the time he was going to meet me. Like, it was going to be 6:00 on Tuesday night, right? And he didn't keep the time. All right, he didn't stick to the time. He wanted to rearrange the time. And he acted like he was doing me a favor, so he wouldn't keep me waiting. But how dare you, guy, like, or girl, or anybody? If you arrange to meet somebody like the very first time, I think it's rude. Like, I know we live in a culture where some people think it's okay to be late all the time, but it's really not okay to be late all the time. It's a mark of disrespect to other people. Being late is a mark of disrespect. It means, first off, you don't have good time management skills. If you can't be on time somewhere, that's a problem. I know some people think it's okay, but it's not okay. Being late has never been okay, and in some countries like Germany, Switzerland, and even like Japan, it's considered the epitome of disrespect not to be on time. I know some people are like, oh, but some like cultural events are start later, but that's a cultural event. That's not like meeting somebody for a date or your job or something like that, or like a meeting, or even, I don't know, religious meeting. You need to be on time. Being late is a sign of disrespect. Like, it just conveys to someone that you don't really think much of them, or you think it's okay, and then to act like you're doing them a favor. And I'm thinking, no, like, I didn't even want to meet you anyway. So I am so glad like that just didn't work out, because it just didn't make any sense. And I was like, okay, and it brought me to the conclusion, even if you are like a nun, why is that a problem? First off, I'm not Catholic. I don't think I'm like a nun. I think what he didn't like was I told him that I'm more reserved and I'm not like an outgoing type of woman. And I don't want to be an outgoing type of woman. Like, I know American society really gets it up for women that are like real outgoing and say crazy things. And that's like kind of the vibe that a lot of people like. But there are more introverted, reserved people, and I'm going to stay that way for the rest of my life. I will never change my personality type to make somebody else happy. And neither should you. And your happiness is more important than other people's happiness. You know that? Because this is the way that we find people that match us, that vibe with us. It's just by being yourself. You don't have to impress people. And that's why I just tell younger people, like, stop trying to impress people. There's nobody on this earth that you should impress. Just be yourself. Honor who you are. And the right people will like you, and you'll like the right people. And I feel like we find our people by being ourselves, not by trying to impress somebody, you know? And by the way, that guy certainly did not want to impress me. He just seemed kind of shallow, really. Like, and it was getting weird. I don't know. I'm just not interested. I'm not interested. Plus, if you're that busy with your kids, get your kids in order. Like, go work on your life being a single parent. Don't be on the dating app. I don't care how lonely you are. Maybe you're lonely because you don't, like, invest enough into yourself. And maybe you should go find another single parent. Because, honestly, That's just weird. Nobody wants to wait around for you, and you're not doing somebody a favor by saying that they can meet you later. It's just weird. It's weird. We don't do that around here. In fact, I have a big giant policy on my channel. So we had to get rid of that. Like, sorry to people that don't have good, healthy habits in their life. That's not one. Anyway, so yeah, I'm just not interested in meeting random randos. And anybody that sees you walking down the street, I wanted to give this guy the benefit of the doubt, but ew, that wasn't good either. I just assume any guy that talks to you when you're walking down the street doesn't really have a good intention. I don't think so. I just don't. Like, what kind of intention do they have? Like, I'm sure some people have a meet cute that way, and I think you still can, and I think maybe it's better than the dating app in general, but in general, no. I'm just not keen on it. I'm just like, what is up with this kind of behavior in our society where people just say stuff like that and do stuff like that? Who knows? But it's all good because honestly, it seems like he's really, really keen on finding somebody to have a really. Oh, he said something else too. Really, but well, it's not like I would make you my girlfriend today, but I would like to. And I'm like, you don't even know me, and you were criticizing me and telling me I was like a nun. No, you don't have to change yourself for anybody else. You are important. You are a good person. You don't have to ever change yourself. It doesn't matter if somebody doesn't like you, because if you're not somebody else's cup of tea, you will find the fucking people that you are their cup of tea, okay? Because that's just how it is, in my opinion. There's nobody that you have to alter yourself for. Don't do it. Be yourself and stop trying to please other people. Stop trying to follow a trend because you think, so and so might like me. Do you like it? And that's all that matters, really. And I do find that there's some men and some women. There's women too. I'm a woman that has occasionally dated men, not a lot. So my experience is talking about meeting men, but I think this can be for any kind of dating scenario. Plus, I just don't think dating's healthy. I really don't, because at the end of the day, I never feel like there's anything super healthy that comes out of all these dating things. I don't know. I don't feel like it is. I don't feel like I ever hear healthy dialogues come out of this. In my little opinion, I don't know. So I'm done trying to meet people. Once again, I don't even want to go on a dating app personally. Sometimes I give somebody the benefit of the doubt, but every time I do, it never really ends well. And that's okay. I do believe everybody has their own person and that there is somebody for everybody, but I just don't feel like it's such a pressing need for me. I just really want to be happy, and I guess I prize my happiness above all these things that society says you need to be happy. I just think you need to do hair care, self-care, and I love to be me. At the end of the day, I just love to be me so hardcore that that's all I really care enough about. And also, I am really close with my family and my sister and my friend from college. Like, I don't get to see her all the time, but I love talking to her. And every time I talk to her, I just feel like what a healthy, supportive person she is. And she's like, well, what would be wrong with a woman being reserved? But she's more of a reserved type too. So as introverted people, we weren't put on the earth to impress you. We were put on the earth to be ourselves. And I believe that God has a purpose for everybody. And that doesn't make me a nun. It just makes me in tune with who I am. And so what? I don't drink and I don't believe in the party scene, and you think that makes me a nun because I believe in living a healthy life? Yeah, I think smoking and drinking and vaping and all that stuff and whatever other else of legal activity, substance abuse people are into is not a healthy way to live your life. Like, you don't need to do those things to have a good life. I know our society makes you think that, but It's okay to have a quieter life, like to go on a walk to home, to like walk down the walking trail and to look at ducks and to just love nature. Like I love the quiet life, and you can't make me feel different about that. Like there's nobody on this planet that's ever gonna make me think that a quiet or healthy life is a bad thing. I just think, what is missing in your life that you're so triggered by somebody being happy with themselves? Like, you know, and I even told, okay, and after, like, towards the end when that guy was telling me I should be this and that, I said, hey, wait a minute. I haven't told you one thing about, like, what you should be saying or what you should be doing or things I don't like about you, because I literally just met you. It's kind of weird, like, for you to say, oh, I like this, but I don't like that. It's not okay. You can think anything you want, but most people really aren't interested in that. Well, maybe there are people that are, but I was like, this is weird. I don't feel it. And then he kind of would backpedal, and he's like, oh, he didn't say anything like, oh, I wasn't trying to make you feel uncomfortable. Oh, and he goes, oh, I want you to be yourself. But actually, you don't, friends. You just don't. When you tell somebody that they should act a different way than themselves. But, you know, that's all. I am doing good. But I believe in living a healthier life. And I was getting kind of excited about reading about Buddhist vegan food. Like, personally, I do love onions and garlic, but I was thinking that it's cool how you can find like vegan restaurants. And I noticed like a lot of things made in India are like vegetarian and vegan friendly, which I really like. Like I found some hash browns from the Dollar Tree. I guess they were made in a vegetarian friendly like plant. I was like, that's kind of awesome. I love that. Like I'm just into what I'm into, and I want everybody to be into what they're into. Like if you just follow your heart to what you're into, your life is just so much more meaningful. Like I remember when I was younger, okay? I mean, I always had my preferences and things I liked, but I think when I was younger, I always felt a bit of urgency, like, oh, like I need to try and get people to like me, even though I knew deep down that some people will just never like you. And you can never clamor for that. You can't clamor to make people who don't like you. It's not possible. It's impossible, really, you know? You should just strive to, like, do you like you? Do you enjoy what you do? Those are the only things you need to worry about. Your life will be so much richer when you start just living by that. So I've given myself over to my future happiness and just being my authentic self, a radical acceptance of who I am as a human being. Like, when I'm out in society, I'm polite to people, I'm kind to people, but I'm not gonna be like super outgoing and tell people like, I think this, I think that. I'm just going to live my very authentic, happy life. Really, that's gonna be where my thought process lies. You can never make other people happy. You just can't do it. But you do have to work on making you happy. You have to prioritize your happiness above all else. And I know some people are like, oh, but people need to do this, they need to do that to be happy. They need to go do this thing. But I sort of think like you can figure out what your own road to happiness looks like. But I feel like it starts with What is the things that you love to do? Like, what exemplifies who you love to be? And just, like, follow that. And it's never done wrong. And also, it kind of is like this movie in silence. And that probably seems ironic to somebody that has, like, a YouTube channel and be like, oh, movie in silence. Well, movie in silence to me is that I might talk about certain things I like on here, but, like, in daily life, if I love something, in general, unless I know people are receptive to it, I don't really need to share it. Or for some people, it might just be goals that they have or anything. I just feel like, oh golly, don't want to spill that. Okay, so I just feel like the whole idea of movie in silence means that you don't need to tell everybody or anybody really, like, what you plan on doing, like, whether it be career-wise, school-wise, just hobby-wise. Like, you should just make a plan to do it. And then if somebody doesn't like it, that's kind of on them. Like, anytime, personally, I have never in the history of my life felt compelled to tell someone that they shouldn't do something or they can't do something, because I think that's weird. There's something really wrong with that. And nobody's being helpful when they do those things to you. Like, anybody, like, let's say you've had a dream and you tell somebody about it, even if it's the most absurd dream on the planet. Like, let's say you want to be a musician. Yes, not everybody's going to be, like, a rock band, okay, that's, like, famous. That's a given. But let's say you want to be a professional musician. There's a lot of opportunity for that. You could play all sorts of local gigs. You could play at weddings. You could play at parties. You could do, like, local coffee shops. You could teach music. Like, there's so many things you could do with music. Same with being an artist. Like, let's say you want to be a professional artist. I mean, maybe you'll never be a super famous artist, but even with ChatGPT, I still know that there's people that love paintings, because the last time I checked, ChatGPT is not a human with a soul that can sit there and create a beautiful painting or whatever it is. I still believe that there's a market for every human skill, even though some people say, I mean, I'm not saying that ChatGPT can't be helpful. I just don't think it replaces human beings, you know. That's my take on that. So I think anything you want to do with your life, you should pursue it on the level that makes you feel most content. Rinse you out with some water. spice of my life for me. Like my happiness is so important. Oh, I forgot this scrunchie does have more give than the other one, really. I do like that though. We can braid down. I try to be gentle. Okay, this is the front. This is the front. This is the back. And that was a lot of fun. And have a wonderful day.